Today is 9th of April. Market opened positive, but was shortly eventually retraced, closed down 19.4977 with fairly high volume. Now, by and large, this is really a consolidation. You can see the crisscrossing of the moving averages. I'd like to see a base eventually form and take out the prior high here of 5041. Our immediate support is actually at the pivot low here of 4855. And we have another pivot low support at 4817. Now, as it consolidates sideways, I prefer the volume actually dry up. That is a nice base formation. So going forward, it's likely to be choppy because it's really consolidating at this point in time. This is Nasdaq Composite Index, the daily charts. Notice actually the recent bar actually gap above the 1326 SMA. This is a positive development. Now this gap provides some kind of support, and it's important that we do not see the gap close. Now it's clearer to actually look at the weekly charts. Now this resistance now becomes support, and this level here is important to watch. It is at 21898. It's important to actually hold above this level. Now remember, this is really a consolidation pattern. At one stage it was actually moving down. Now for the bull to wrestle control from the bear, it'll probably take some time and usually very choppy. So we just have to be cautious during these periods. Markets really news driven, very much depends on what happens in Middle East. And the recent upward moves was actually attributed to the cruise, which was announced. And currently US and Iran is negotiating for a peace deal. So if there's positive development on that front, it's likely to see upward move. But as again mentioned, it's likely to be very choppy. Let's turn our attention to some of the stocks we'll be discussing. First off, Penn United. Quite evident the 1326 are well placed, trending nicely. Today bar is actually low volume bar. This is a contraction setup. Notice the last three bar are very low. This is positive. Look for eventual break above 172. This is Oitech. By far the best performing stock of late. Notice a very strong run. We have extension bar. Here we have a reversal bar. Which too much too soon. Notice the daylight is very huge. The fact that today managed to actually head up well is actually quite strong. But with the huge daylight, any break on the upside will be a challenge. Right? So probably it's best to stay aside. Usually after a strong move, we prefer the stock to actually consolidate the recent gain to form a base. Very much like this. All right. So you'll probably take some time because this is really a huge run. And usually you will require it to consolidate for a while before you actually move up again. This is Geo Energy, mapping out a consolidation patterns. You can see over the last few sessions, slight drop in volume, particularly today. So this is a mini cup with handle pattern. So I'd like to see eventual break above the high here of 565. Bengguan. Stock managed to actually break on the upside yesterday. Today, trade a reversal bar. Look for a setup and look for a break on the upside. Bubitama. At this point in time here, we have a big dipper setup. 2-bar callback high here is at 196. First Resources, unfortunately, this stock actually have a gap down 2 days ago. So the chart is somewhat damaged. It probably takes some time to repair. So it's important for this gap to be covered first before we really look for a break on the upside. This appears to be a level to watch, and this is at about $3. Wilmer, at this point in time here, we have a small deeper setup. Bar high here is at 402. Now, there were two stocks which are not often discussed. This is Cole Brother. Recently, we have some strong move. Notice over here, managed to break above this resistance here and followed by a pullback. Notice a very low volume. Now, usually with a long tail, we tend to ignore the tail because it's thinly traded. So this appeared to be a more significant level, which is this closing 36 cents. If you break decisively, we can actually take a trade. So we can take this as a contraction setup with two inside day. This is Core Echo. Similarly, very strong move. You can see a very big base here. You managed to actually take out convincingly and followed by pullback on low volume. This is a contraction setup. Bar high is at 0122. So just take note, this is a penny stock. Let's turn our attention to the bank stocks, in particular OCBC. Very nice gap up and then followed by pullback. At this point in time here, we have a small depot setup. Bar high is 22.90. This is the DBS. If you take a look at DBS, actually it's much weaker. We have overhead resistance. So perhaps we have to observe. It probably takes some time before you clear the high. UOB. Mentioned previous videos that this stock is best left alone. Technically, you can see there is no trend characteristics. So OCBC is currently the better bet. Now UOB Keng is actually much better. If you take a look, you have a very nice saucer consolidation pattern. And break out very nicely. Now a couple of days ago, we have a contraction breakout. And today managed to make a new high, look for a pullback and look for a new setup.